sit back and listen as I bring out Geraldine Glass.
Woo!
Let's give her a really good welcome. Geraldine, you look gorgeous.
Thank you, Anita.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're
Good
so
morning, everyone.
welcome. They're all yours. They're a beautiful audience, and I know they're going to love you.
Thank you. So, how does an opera singer and professor come to this magical world of sound healing? So I first heard these amazing instruments about 14 years ago, and I was struck by the feeling inside me that they were an ancient song that I knew. It was like a song that seemed to sing the sounds of my soul. And so I bought a set of 7 bowls, and the bowls correspond to different areas in the body. So I bought a set of 7 that corresponded to the chakra system. And I brought them back to Germany, where I was living and working as an opera singer and teacher. And I started to use them with my students. I think that's popping a little bit. So when a student had a blockage in their voice, I would ask them to pick one of the 7 bowls and hum, tone, sing with it, and lo and behold, the blockage disappeared. And that was my first experience with, wow, when a voice entrains with the sound, or when on the cellular level, when we entrain with the sound, healing can happen, openings can happen. But the first thing that was very fun and interesting was my son was at the time 12 years old, and he was participating in a national singing contest in Germany. He had to do a 15-minute program, and he made it to the semifinals. And 4 days before the semifinal competition, he came in the room and he goes, "Mom, Mom, 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 Mom." And he goes, "Mom, my voice is changing." And I had at that point never accompanied a young man through his voice change. And so all I did, I talked with colleagues and said, can they still sing? And yes, they can. So to keep his voice open, we did the same thing. He picked a bowl every day. He toned with it. He hummed with it. He sang with it. And he was able to do the competition beautifully. We lowered the keys of his songs, but he stood up on the stage and he said, "Hello, my name is Dylan, and since 4 days ago, I am no longer a soprano." So that was our connection with these singing bowls. So he loved them. And so this real journey that I'm on now began 4 years ago, and on March 27th, my boy passed. And that's every parent's just worst nightmare. And this whole process that I've gone through now has led me to be able to share the sacred sound worldwide and become to learn that all that happens in our life is truly in our favor, that all that happens is to open us and bring us to our true life purpose and our magnificence. And very hard to say that some years ago. But what happened on the night that he passed is I walked down to the beach at midnight, and I looked up at the sky. I grew up in Los Angeles, so for those of you who know Los Angeles, it's a huge city. I have never seen a shooting star, but on that night, as I looked up in the sky and looked over to the direction south of the airport where our family home was, there was this huge shooting star that seemed to start at the family home, cross over the basin, and end up in the mountains behind LA. And I could hear his voice. I could hear him. He was a big kid. He was 6'3" and 225 pounds. He was a football player and just a big young man. "Mom, Mom, I made it. I'm home. I'm with God." It's like we always talked about. And I was with a dear friend, and we both looked up at the sky at the same time, and we both heard this sound, and the shape of the shooting star was like this huge upside down smile. So that was the beginning of understanding that we are truly made of sound, vibration, and light. We're made of energy, and that energy gets compressed into human form. And I began to understand that my son was communicating with me through sound vibration. That was my language, that was his language, and light. And so I entered this healing journey, and about 8 weeks in, before I created his celebration of life, I knew that I had to do something to change things up when the celebration was over. I knew that I couldn't go on in my life the way I had gone on. And he was a ski racer, and we had traveled the world and seen many mountains. We had gone to Nepal and seen Mount Everest. So the next thing on our bucket list was Machu Picchu. So I said to him, Sonny, that was his nickname, Sonny, we're gonna go to Machu Picchu, just tell me who we're gonna go with. And I opened up the computer and I Googled spiritual journeys to Machu Picchu. And I'm gonna ask Danny to put that slide on. This wonderful woman who's become a mentor, Dr. Sue Morter, came up on the screen. And I had given her, so I went to Peru. That's who we went with. And I said to Dylan, are you sure we want to go with this blonde-haired, blue-eyed doctor from Indiana? And he was like, Mom. I said to him, don't we need to go with the native shaman? And he was like, Mom, she is the shaman. And this amazing thing happened. She's holding his picture. And on the top of Huayna Picchu, the main mountain in Machu Picchu, and this beam of light is coming from his picture, almost as if it's out of his throat to the heaven, or heaven to his throat. And that was the beginning for me also, as these signs kept accumulating, of beginning to understand, as I said at the beginning, it's really all for a deeper purpose. So hard to understand when you're sitting in grief, but this light beam changed everything. When I came home from Machu Picchu, about 2 or 3 months later, my niece was in the hospital she was pregnant and the baby wasn't doing well. And I went to visit her and I played sound bowls for her. And driving home from UCLA from the hospital, I stopped at a stop sign and I just lost it. I just started crying and yelling at him, why can't you be here? We have a huge family. There's lots of little kids. Everybody loved him because he could just pick up the little ones with one hand, put them over his head. And it was like, Dylan, why can't you be here? And this image popped on the screen. And not only did that pop on my car screen, but it started to play Wonderful World. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I lost it. Source, back home, unknown. And it was like, Dylan, you're talking to me. If you could talk to me, you are talking to me. And again, I began to really understand in a bodily felt way, we are made of sound vibration. That's who we are. That's where we come from, and that's where we return. And that's how my boy has continued to show me it's good. He's good. So I stopped my work at the university and I had a number of engagements. I stopped everything. I finished everything and then stopped. And I went on a healing journey to begin to make sense of, you think it's someone else's life. It's not my life. And you just can't understand and put the pieces together. So I went on a trip to India. But before that, I began to study sound healing in a very intense way, and I worked with someone who many of you may know called Jonathan Goldman. He's one of the fathers of popular sound healing of today. And while I was there, I did a treatment with one of his sound healers, and I said to her, I'm really nervous about going to India by myself. It was a journey that I picked out, and I knew from Dylan I was supposed to go. I knew it. It was called Heart Songs in the Himalayas, and it was a chanting and healing journey. And she said to me, don't worry about it. You're supposed to go, and you'll understand when you come back. And so I traveled to India, and on the way from New Delhi to Leh, which is a little town up in the Himalayas, everyone went to the window of the plane, and there was this rounded rainbow. And at first we saw the shadow of the plane in it, and then the rainbow got closer and closer. Everyone was taking pictures. And Danny, thank you for the slide. And this is what happened. So you see the rounded rainbow up in the far corner. This was a picture that my brother-in-law had made of my son after he passed. And when I got off the plane and looked at that face, with the sunglasses, I don't know if you can see that from the screen on the bottom, his face was in the center of the rounded rainbow. And it blew my mind. And they told me in Lay that in the Buddhist tradition, when somebody passes away, they go in a tent, when they know that they're coming to the end of their lives, they go in a tent and the family waits, and they know when a rainbow appears in the sky that the person has crossed over. But nobody could tell me the significance of a rounded rainbow. But that touched me so deeply, and when I came home, I sent the pictures to the sound healer, and she said that Dylan had been present in the room during the sound healing, and he said to her, "I'm going to give my mom an unmistakable sign." So I'm going to play a little bit, again, these sounds. And about 5 months in, after Dylan had passed, there were days, of course, where one doesn't do well, and days where one can get out of bed and it's all okay. So on one of those days where I just was not doing well, he says to me, "Mom, I want you to call the bowl dudes." And I'm like, "What?" "Mom, I want you to call the bowl dudes. We're going to be doing sound healing." And it really began to anchor in me that this was going to be a way through the agony. And so I did. I called the company and I told them what had happened, and I ordered 11 bowls, and one of the bowls was selenite. And selenite, if you know that stone, has to do with grounded white light. And I began to play that bowl, and I began to weep in a way that I'd never expressed my grief before. And I began to understand that by playing that bowl and sobbing and sounding and toning, that something began to really transform. And I remember the first time playing the bowl, about 45 minutes, just expressing whatever came out in whatever form, and then getting up to wash my face and seeing that there was light in my eyes, and seeing that the sound was actually transforming something. And that began this real journey of sound healing. You know, what does it mean that sound really goes where words, you know, I went to grief therapy 3 times a week and just talked and talked and talked, but it didn't really, it helped of course, but it didn't really transform the grief on a cellular level. And I remember feeling, if I sit and play these bowls every day, something's shifting. Something big is shifting. So I would like to share with you about a year in, I went looking through photographs and I found this postcard. So when Dylan was little, I traveled a lot as an opera singer, and I found this postcard that he had written me. And he loved comics, so it has, can you show that, Danny? It has, Danny? Sorry, can we show that slide? So, "Hi Mom, up in the clouds," and I turned it over and read the postcard. Other side, please, Danny. If you can put the back side of the postcard up, thank you. "Dear Mom, I love you and I'm so glad to see you again. I've missed you so much. Just remember, always let God's light shine on you and you'll see me." And he wrote that when he was 10. So it also made me feel like if you can understand that what happens to us in our lives is truly a plan, truly a soul's plan. And that changed everything. So thank you very much. I'm gonna play a little bit of these. So these bowls here are the notes that correspond to our endocrine system. They're the black notes on the piano. C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. And I'd love to invite you to tone with me. As we say, in the beginning was the sound. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. In the beginning was the sound, and the sound was creation. And we say that the first sound was the Om. So how about if we tone together 3 times the Om, and just feel the Om come out of your heart and your belly. And if you're not comfortable with the Om, just make a hum, but feel the sound vibration in your body. Last time. So taking some long, deep cleansing breaths. Let's really drop in that world of sound, vibration, and light. And close your eyes. I invite you to close your eyes. And allow your breath to be deep and cleansing. What does it feel like inside your body when you feel the vibrational frequency of love? How does that feel in your body? Tender, kind, compassionate, thankful, something rare and precious. The vibrational frequency of love in our body is a choice. And I've learned through my son and our connection, heaven, earth, that before my feet touch the ground, before I get out of bed, if I can find this vibrational frequency of love in my body, the day goes very different. Feel the peace. Love in our bodies. So the sound really has the capacity to go where words and human touch and even medicines cannot go. So this was the endocrine set, and these notes over here are the white notes on the piano. So I invite you to tone with me. They're a very different sound. Let's tone with this big blue bowl, a ma. One of the seed sounds, and again. heart activate. Feel that vibrational frequency of love as we tone one more time, Ma. Simply by coming to a hum or a tone is a way to bring your body back to harmony. The bowls are infused with semi-precious gemstones, minerals, earth substances, so as we hear the sound, we're also getting the amplification of these particular gemstones. So for example, this one has gold in it. Gold that's fired till it's blue, and it also has the selenite, the grounded white light. So thank you very much for listening, and Anita's going to lead us in a beautiful, beautiful experience with the sound bowls. Thank you very much.
Wasn't that beautiful? Yeah. Your music is just so beautiful. And I think Wayne would have loved your music.
Yes.
He really would have. So, and thank you.
Thank you.
He's probably here. You know,